Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, Head Currency Analyst. In this video we're going to go through the market outlook, the Forex market outlook, and we're going to go through the strengths and weaknesses of the currencies and what we can expect from this week. So, dollar remained weak. We can see here that it's still at that -7 area, still at that extreme where we want to start looking for that buying of the US dollar. Now, we're looking at the majors that I've just looked at. There are a few setting up, which is quite nice, that we'll go take a look at. But for me this week, I want to be focusing on the potential to buy the US dollar. I want to buy it against those currencies like Kiwi, Aussie, and maybe a little bit of the Swiss franc, but also I'll probably look to buy it against the euro. Now, the reason I'll look to buy it against the euro is just because price usually, or the dollar index is a basically flipped version of the euro USD. Because the euro is heavily weighted to the dollar index. Okay, so I think the dollar index is made up of around about 56% euro. So that's why euro US dollar pretty much just looks like the inverse of the dollar index. So if I want to be a buyer of the dollar index, I can just be a seller on euro US dollar. Okay, so let's go take a look at the dollar index, and I've marked out a little area here and just suggested that we are potentially forming a double bottom pattern. If I just go take a quick look at the weekly time frame, we can see that the weekly formed an indecision doji candlestick. The market is also in an oversold condition, so this has added a little bit of confluence to me to look for that upside. Obviously seasonally as well, we want to be a buyer of the dollar, and the fact that it's finding support in an oversold condition just adds weight to what we're looking at. Looking at the daily time frame though, has price change cycle? No, it hasn't. It's almost in the starting stages of forming a double bottom pattern. Now, a double bottom will complete if price breaks and closes above this high. So if we see the market open and Monday we see this takeout of this high, that'll be great to then look for that continuation pullback move into this weekly area around about $96. Okay, so expecting some upside if we do get that. Obviously, if the market can range, okay, so if the dollar is still struggling, we may see the price still kind of stutter like this. So I only really want to be a buyer if we can get above those highs. If we get above that high around about $94, then that'll be good to look to buy the US dollar. Now, if we look at euro, that kind of looks the same, inversed. So if the price can break below this low here on euro US dollar, I'm happy to be a seller of this market. So I just want to wait for a little bit more confirmation. Are we going to get those changes in trend, or is the market going to stay range bound and eventually break to the upside? What we need to see is how much is that seasonality going to be played out on the dollar. Now, seasonality shows us that price may find a bottom and rally through August, but it will never tell us the volume of the move. Okay, it will never tell us the size of the move. All it will suggest is that you should be a buyer of that currency potentially if you get the right setup. So we do need to see the right setup form here. Very much the same with Aussie. We're starting to get a nice little bit of divergence here. Divergence is forming due to the price making higher highs and the RSI making lower highs. So I do like the opportunity here to start looking for shorts on these markets. I mean, a great little 4-hour breaking trend here where the market has broken through. So maybe a little retest of 7180. On the short term, could look for some short positions in there, but Aussie looking good for some downside. Favourite is obviously Kiwi. Kiwi have been looking for some shorts to come in due to the commitment of trade reports. We're starting to see that come in through on Friday. Our trade is now back in the positive. So looking at the 4-hour time frame here, could we look for any add-on positions there? Well, what I like to do is look for a pullback into the previous lows. So if price rallies back up into that sort of 66.40 area, we could look for a continuation trade on Kiwi. But I really like what's going on here. Daily potentially forming that lower high, looking for price to push to the downside. So we'll definitely look for some add in positions there. Dollar Swiss was on the list for a potential bullish opportunity, but again, the only reason I like this is because of where we're at on the weekly. If we look left, huge weekly zone, prices back down into this area as well, oversold on the RSI. Could we start seeing this reflect the dollar index and potentially push to the upside? Well, again, need to see that high being broken in order for me to be a buyer of this market. Dollar CAD was one that we looked at last week. I'd still like to be a buyer of this market. Obviously, if we look at the strength and weakness table, CAD is still like -4.0, so dollar could really push up against those weaker currencies. CAD is one of those weaker currencies, so still looking for a decent breakout to the upside here. So again, look for the potential change in cyclicity of these highs. Can we get some new highs being formed on the daily time frame, which could lead to some upside in this particular currency pair? So I'm gonna leave it there. Keep an eye on the US dollar this week. It's going to be super important. I think we're going to get some changes in trend, and if we do, obviously we have to wait for the technicals to line up, but if we do get those breakouts that we want to see, look to buy the dollar. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.